Hi, Christy. Thanks for joining me on Behind the Build. I'm Paul Drake, and this podcast is all about getting real insights from leaders in housing, manufacturing, and construction. There's no scripts, there's no sugarcoating, and it's great exposure for you and your organisation. Here's how I'd like to sort of structure our conversation this morning. I want to understand your background, the trends that you're seeing in industry, whether that's technology, market shifts, or operational changes, the challenges that you're facing right now, and where you want to take the organisation over the next 6 to 12 months. We'll wrap up at the end with any insights that we might find valuable. Does that sound good?
Sounds great. Thanks.
Excellent. It'll probably take about 30 to 40 minutes even. And we'll start with you. If you wouldn't mind telling me a bit about yourself. Steve, what's your role and how did you end up in the position you're in?
Sure. I used to work for a charity in Birmingham, and part of my role there was to set up and manage a night shelter for people experiencing homelessness. And I ran the project for about 3 or 4 years, and I discovered that a good proportion of the people coming into the shelter were ready and motivated to take on a full-time job, and we managed to match some of the people into these roles. So that's where Standing Tall started. So it's a not-for-profit social enterprise, which I founded about 5 years ago now. And we're now working in about in 8 cities across the UK, matching people, talented people that have been through homelessness into stable jobs and safe homes.
Right. You kind of touched on what the organisation does, but is there a sort of typical day in your life in the organisation?
Uh, It's a short answer. I mean, it's very varied. We're a small team of 10 staff. Um, we have seven of the team are on about in our cities, finding talent, working with them, assessing them, matching them with jobs, and then supporting them for 12 months. From my point of view as the CEO, there's lots of operational um, time in our day to day, working to secure new partnerships with businesses, pitching to businesses and continuing those conversations, finances and comms and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, it's very, very different from day to day.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge, isn't it? Of running a team of that size, you have to wear many hats on many different days, and get your hands dirty, essentially, isn't it? But rewarding. So,
Yeah, but I suppose, I mean, it's changed in the last 12 months. We were a team of 3 people 12 months ago, and now we're 10. So the difference in my role in that 12 months has changed considerably. I was doing the frontline work in Birmingham 12 months ago, but now, I have a couple of senior staff um, to support me. So yeah, it's changed quite a lot in the last 12 months.
mm, good. Are you seeing any trends in the industry right now in terms of technology or operational efficiencies?
I mean, I guess what we're doing is reasonably unique. We're identifying people who have had come through a really difficult time, seeing potential in them, and then matching them with the right job opportunity and that ongoing support. Um, I think, just to say briefly about homelessness, it's an issue that unfortunately is becoming more and more prevalent. It's the numbers of people in across the UK is increasing, unfortunately. But that's hopefully where what we're doing is kind of an antidote to that. Is that we're showing, we're challenging the stereotypes and showing the wider world that there is real untapped talent um, for businesses to access. I suppose, a second key part of what we do is we have hosts, people with spare rooms. So when we match somebody with a job, we match them with one of our hosts in whichever city, and that's in terms of the wider industry. Airbnb is obviously a huge company that's grown hugely in the last 10, 15 years. But for me, that demonstrates that the numbers of people involved in Airbnb demonstrated to me that, for some people with a spare room, they might be comfortable with, helping somebody to get a foot up. And that's proven to be the case. We're able to use um, meta ads to recruit people who are happy to um, rent their room out. They get paid a monthly rent, but also supporting somebody to move on into their independent accommodation.
Mm, that sounds really good. So how do you manage that? Do you use pathways to bring people in and then hopefully transition them into their own space, or is it too early for that?
Yeah, we've really started to focus on the kind of customer journey idea. We effectively have got three customer journeys that go on internally. There's the business who wants to make real social value happen. So, a pipeline approach to starting to talk to the right businesses and work with them where they provide jobs over a period of time. Hopefully they have a good experience with us. Secondly, the people with spare rooms, they uh, register with us. We go through an onboarding process. When we check references and DBS and training and induction, and then hopefully they host with us for maybe 1, 2, 3 times over a couple of years, and then the people themselves that we're trying to help. We work with local homeless organisations who refer people to us, and we've developed our own strength-based approach that our talent scouts are using. Over to support the person for at least 12 months. So we're really starting to develop that customer journey approach.
Good. Are you seeing any impact from AI or any automation, any digital tools that are helping you with that, with your
We
growth?
use our main CRM system is we use Monday.com, and we're finding that to be really useful for the core business of conversations with a host, with a person we're helping with a business. And it means obviously that everyone within Standing Tall is being kept up to date with whatever is happening. That there are some AI facilities within Monday.com where you can summarize the current situation of maybe working with somebody for the last 6 weeks. You can get a really good summary. The meta ads for the recruiting hosts is a crucial part of our business model. We're always iterating on what kind of content to create to enable people to register to find out more, and we're trying to use that customer journey approach of the customer insights of content of people we're helping to go back into the process of convincing people outside of the organization to get involved.
Mm, good. Any concerns that you have or your peers are mentioning about the industry?
Um, there's one recently is some of these big businesses that we're trying to engage with and build partnerships with. That in terms of entry level roles, I think uh, AI. We hear all the time that AI is likely to replace some job roles, and for us at Standing Tall, it's the entry level roles that we're really interested in. Uh, I'm interested to see how that plays out in terms of in the next 3, 5 years, are the number of entry level roles across different sectors going to reduce or not? I think in some businesses, in some sectors, there will always be a need. One example to draw on is we work with Network Rail, and we have a number of entry level role. They're called customer service advisors, so that when you go into a train station and ask which platform to go to, they have these customer service advisors that you ask where to go. I think roles like those will, likely be there for the foreseeable future. But so yeah, that's definitely a long-term challenge, and it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
Mm. On the opposite side of that, then, are there any opportunities that you see?
Well, I mean, the opportunities for us at the moment are really significant because, we've got a model that's really working. We've got 4 out of 5 of the people we help are in the same job 1 year later. So we're finding talent, and the businesses we're working with are coming back to us and saying, please, can you find us some more candidates? So the model is working. So the opportunity for us is, we're in our 8 cities as at the moment, but we're wanting to, grow into more cities. We've now learnt how to, that sort of 6 to 12 month startup period of starting in a new city. And we've, developed that and improved that. So that's the opportunity for us. Going back to that Network Rail example, we have jobs with them in our existing cities, but, our next city is probably going to be Glasgow. So the great thing about our model is we can go back to Network Rail and say, would you like some candidates in Glasgow? And so that growth of impact becomes, quite smooth.
Yeah. No, I like it. Yeah. So where would you say the organisation is, Christy, in the market currently? You mentioned it's quite a unique offering. I mean, is it that unique that nobody else is doing what you're doing?
Yeah, there's one or two that are doing similar things. So there's an organisation called Change Bleeds who, have been around a little bit longer than us and have grown much larger than us, where they're a coffee company, but all of their profits go into supporting people who've been through homelessness to get into stable work. So that's one operation which is similar. Also, there's one called Beam. Again, they've been around and have grown, quite more substantial than us, where, there's a crowdfunding aspect on their website where people can support an individual to get training to help them into work out of homelessness. So there's some great examples of, innovation, of enabling somebody to get into work as a crucial way of getting out of homelessness, having that stable income to be able to have some choices again. So I suppose the unique aspect, or one key unique aspect of what we're doing is that hosting, because you know it's entirely reasonable and possible to match somebody into a job and they work for a few months, but living in a shelter or hostel is very difficult to sustain that. But with the hosting, it's providing the next step for 6 months, where they go home and feel safe, get a good night's sleep, and then they're able to then move on with a deposit to then get their own place. The hosting is really playing a key role in opening up new doors.
What would you say the organisation does extraordinarily well?
Well, we just had a summit recently. It was our first big event at the Library of Birmingham, and we brought together about 70 people from all of our businesses and people we've been working with over the last few years. And I think it's this model of the right job with a good employer, the hosting, which I've just mentioned, and then we give 12 months of support from one of our talent scouts. And these three things at the same time are giving, the full package is one way of describing it. Meaning that hopefully, if someone's ready and motivated, they've got every chance of sustaining, getting out of homelessness. It's a horrible kind of catch-22 situation. But this sort of three-pronged approach is really, taking that sort of holistic approach. And aside from the benefits to the person themselves, our businesses are, finding new talent, and they're diversifying their workforces. So hopefully there's benefits for everybody.
When you talk about your customers, do you class them as customers? But
Yeah, to some extent, the businesses and the hosts, we kind of treat as customers. The people who, I suppose, the language of a customer we probably wouldn't use, but we see that obviously there are three groups of people that we need to make sure they have a good experience.
so do they give you feedback on the service that you provided, and is there a common theme throughout that in terms of positive feedback?
The customer journey approach just recently started to get our teeth into this. Hopefully, as we do more of this in the next 6-12 months, we're going to get our teeth into this. And what we're, you know, what a business might say, for example, at the summit, we had a panel with 3 or 4 of our businesses sharing their, reasons for getting involved and what worked well and what didn't work so well and so on. And those insights from those 3 or 4 businesses are obviously really valuable, primarily to make sure we're delivering the best service we can. But then also, in terms of us, reaching out to other businesses, hopefully they identify with, the insights that some of these businesses are sharing. One just comes to mind is that the station manager at New Street at Network Rail was saying that, it's obviously there's lots of businesses who are working with charities, to do some good in the community. But from her point of view, the primary motivator was that there's identifying and bringing on board talent. So it's a business reason of finding talent that will stay with them. The secondary bonus is that they're also helping end homelessness. But we're trying as an organization to offer a service to find talent that will stay, and then they, as I say, have this extra bonus of having a social impact at the same time.
Yeah, it sounds like you're doing a really good thing. Certainly from this side of the camera.
Thank you.
So, no problem. So where do you want to take the organisation over the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah,
Christy?
I think the opportunity is, to bring on into more cities. The larger cities provide less risk for us. There are the 3 aspects of, there are sufficient entry level jobs. There are, more people with spare rooms. And unfortunately, there are people, who are coming out of homelessness who are ready for work. So um, we've got 2 cities we've got confirmed for next year, which is really exciting. Glasgow and Dublin. So that will take us to 10 cities. They may, the plan at the moment is that we'll start next summer. But as you can imagine, there's a good amount of work for us to get ready for those 2 cities. Dublin is obviously not in the UK, so there's some sort of new challenges for us to get ready for Dublin. But it's really exciting to we'll have a footprint in Scotland for the first time, and Ireland.
Mm. So leading on from that then, so what's the biggest operational challenge do you see to try and achieve those objectives?
I think the first one that I'd always talk about is, the staff team. The finding the right people. So far, touch wood, we've had an amazing experience of finding a really capable team, and obviously we're going to work really hard to continue that. I mean, this talent scout role, this person in one of our cities who's going out meeting people and assessing if they're ready for full-time work, is quite a unique role. And a few years ago when it was just me, I had this big question mark about how am I going to find the right candidates? I knew that emotional intelligence was the core competency that I was looking for, but I wasn't sure about how could I assess somebody for this emotional intelligence. So we've developed have applications in like anyone else, but within our assessment day, when we bring in, say 6 shortlisted candidates, we bring in an actor, where in a scenario, the actor acts as someone who's going through tough times, and we observe how each candidate interacts with the actor. And that scenario is very revealing, and it is probably the most important part of the assessment day. More important than the interview, um, and we really get to see how somebody handles quite tricky situations, but is able to build a relationship effectively.
Mm. What's been your biggest struggle so far in getting to where you
Um,
are growing?
I think the thing that's taken the most amount of time is bringing the businesses on board with the jobs. Just in the last, say, 6 months or so, we're really starting to make some progress. Um, 6 months ago, we recruited a head of partnerships, a lady called Lara Milmo, and Lara has been working with me on, you know, this pipeline approach of talking to the right businesses and putting our pitch in front of them, and the number of conversations has really multiplied in the last 6 months. So I'm really pleased that it's going in the right direction, but it's it's been a really long process. We started working with Network Rail probably about 3 years ago, and that's a really sort of mature partnership now. There's other companies like ISS, Serco, Barclays, um, Winvic Construction. So we've probably got about 10 or 15 different employers across the country. But as we grow, into more cities, we obviously need more jobs. So that's a lot of our sort of time at the moment is focusing on that.
And from a personal perspective, what does achieving your objectives mean to you, Christy?
Oh, I just love it. I love it. The what it's all about for me is that we meet someone who's in a tricky place, and it doesn't always work out, but in most cases, they're the person is stepping away from a difficult situation and finding stability and being able to be in control of what they want to do. One of the first people I helped in Birmingham was a guy called Steve, and he was a plasterer by trade, but he broke up with his partner and didn't have anybody else to help out that could help him out. So he found himself on the streets very, out of nowhere, really. Wasn't kind of on the horizon. And then I met him a couple of months later, matched him with a construction job. He moved in with a host. He's still in the same business now, sort of 3 or 4 years on, with his own place. And then last summer, he invited my wife and I to his wedding, which was just a lovely sort of kind of celebration of what he's done over the last few years to find himself in a better place. And as staff, when we see plenty of other really nice stories, see people you know um demonstrate their abilities and go through difficult times, it's really satisfying for us.
Yeah, it sounds really rewarding. Yeah, excellent. So we're coming to the end of our podcast, Christy.
Okay.
So yeah, thanks very much for taking the time and speaking so candidly and openly about the challenges and opportunities that you're seeing, and sharing your journey and the great things that your organisation is doing, which I think is fantastic. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Was that okay?